All right, so let's talk about Flexbox. So when we're talking of Flexbox, first thing you need to have in your mind is that Flexbox has to do with the layout of your web page content. During the stone age of CSS, developers were used to using floats and positioning to deal with uh, website layouts. But now, thank God that Flexbox has come around. You can do a lot of things without having any issue with it. So when you want to start dealing with Flexbox, the very first thing you need to do to start Flexbox is to have a flex parent and flex item placed inside the flex parent div. So I've declared a div already. I gave it a class name of flex parent. Then I have many other divs inside this one. I named them. I gave them a class name of flex item. All right. So let's go to CSS tray to start styling them. So these are all the flex items. They are all placed inside one particular flex parent. So let's start by styling our flex parent. So the very first thing you need to declare is the display. So when you click a display, then you need to clarify that you are using flex. So immediately you choose flex, you will see that everything comes with it. Okay, let me add border to this ones so that we will know the difference between. Let me say, took it down. Sorry, so we can easily see what we are having there now. So immediately we declared flex, you see that everything, the layout becomes horizontal, unlike the vertical that we were having before. So that is the very first thing. Why we are having this is that, but in case you don't want this, is because of the default setting of Flexbox. But in case you don't want this and you want them to be on horizontal, on vertical, then you need to declare the flex direction. So flex direction column, and that will bring them back this way. So the one that we have before is flex direction row, so which is the default. So whether you write it like this or you didn't, so if you are using row, you don't need to actually put this at all. You see that it remains the same. All right. So another flex direction we have is, so let's take it back to column. So this is column. We also have column reverse. So which we just take it the other way round, starting from the last one to the very first one. So you see it starts from 8 to 1 now instead of from 1 to 8. So we can as well have row reverse. So can you see now? So 8 before other numbers. Okay. So let's see with we can just comment this out because we want it to be in normal row, which is the default. Also, instead of all of them to squeeze up this way, as you can see, the size are actually declared for them. The width 100 pixel is no more showing like 100 pixel because they're supposed to give us square shape. Now they are giving us horizontal shape because everything is squeezed up inside the width of their flex period of their parent. So to correct that, we can just say flex wrap and we give it wrap. But if you don't want it to wrap, you give it no wrap. So immediately we give the flex wrap, so it wraps to the other side. So having done this, we can as well talk about justify content. So let's say you choose center, it will bring everything to the middle. So that is justify content center. If you say flex start, it will bring everything to the front because that is the default. It will take it back to the way it was, which is like this. This is the default. You can as well give it a flex end, which is will move it to the other hand. We also have space evenly aside from flex start, flex end, center. We also have space. So if you put space around, so they all have this space in between. Then one thing you need to notice is the space we have here in between 1 and 2 is like the double of the space we have beside 1 here. So that is telling you that let's say the size we have here is 1 pixel space, then this 1 pixel will this middle, because this side will have 1 pixel for item 1, then at the other side it will have 1 pixel. So item 2 will also have 1 pixel here and another 1 pixel here, making it 2 pixel because 1 pixel from this side and another 1 pixel from this side are meeting here. So making them 2 pixels like that. So that is what space around do to you. But if you save space evenly, you will realize that the exact space you have here is the exact space you have here is the exact space you have here. So one is not doubling the other one. So we also have space around, space between. So this space between, we move them to the edges, both the right edges and the left edges, then putting space in between. You can see that this particular side there is no space there. So that is what space between does. So space between, we move them to the very edge and put space in between them. Space around, we put space, exact space around them throughout. Then space evenly would give them the same space in between them. All right. So now, so we are still dealing with what we can do with flex pairing. We have not even moved. Okay, we are still dealing with. So align items, justify content. We move from this side to it to adjust the spaces in between all these items. By align items, we move all of them together, either to up or to down or to anywhere. So let's do center. For the first one, you will see that everything will move to the middle. Here, middle vertically. They will move to middle vertically. So, so the same thing you can use flex end for these two. So flex end, they will all move down. Flex start, that is the default, so they will all move up. So that is for the align items. But the way align items and justify content, the way they work will change if the flex direction is not in row. So let's change the flex direction now. So let's change it to column. Aha, you see what I'm saying? So flex direction, immediately it changes to column. Then okay. So this is what we have as flex column. Because we have used flex wrap, we can as well say no wrap. So to squeeze everything up on that column. But because we want them to maintain their normal height and width, then there should be wrap. So immediately there is wrap, it takes the exact amount it can take. The parent will take the exact number of items it can take at that moment. So meaning three on a column, three on a column, and then two here. So now, so this justify content, as I have told you, it works with how these things are related, how each items, how they move closer to one another. So justify content, let's say space evenly. So it will just create space between them evenly. The same space here is the same space here, is the same space here, is the same space here, is the same space here. Then if it is now align items, we will now be the one to move them away from this side, maybe to this side, to the middle or to the flex end and all of that. So let's check that. So flex start, that is why it is like this. So let's change it to flex end and see that they will all move to the right side now. So can you see they have moved to the edge, the right edge. If you say center, it will move them all to the center. So that is how it works. Another thing we can do on under flex parent is row gap and column gap. So for the row gap to show very well, let me remove this. Okay, let's see. Row gap. So let's say I'm using 5 pixel for instance, then column gap. So I need to remove this so that we'll see how that works. Can you see? Let me return it. So because justify content has receives everything, putting them in their right places according to what you told it to do. So column gap, the gap might not actually work again. But immediately you remove justify content, then you will see what the gap says. So row gap, which is 5 pixel. So this is the row gap now. This is the row, this is the gap in between them that forms the row. On this row, this is another gap. So, but for column gap, so column gap should be space between this and this, then this and this. So let me try to increase this to like 30. You see that it will increase the size in between them here, because the gap we have through the flex wrap has made the three to be on unseen, so it's not going to be effective because this one has override this, right? But now that I made it bigger than what the flex wrap actually gave it, then it shows that we actually have column gap. Then another thing you need to learn is instead of this column gap, row gap, you can just use a gap. You can just use gap and declare both the row and the column together. So the row will be the first one, the 5 pixel, or let's say 10 pixel, while the one that will follow it will now be the column. The first value is meant for the row, while the second value is meant for the column. All right, we have learned a lot for the flex parent. So let's go to, so now this flex item is this flex item too. Yes, another thing you need to know is flex item can also be a flex parent. So in this case now, under this flex item, we have a content inside it, which is this number one. So it's possible. Once it has a content, it can be declared as flex. So the very first thing you need to do is to remember is to say display, then flex. Then it will not show because they have only one item inside them. If they have many items, then it's probably going to show. But what is the essence of flex? Display flex when we have just one item inside the parent is to center it. If you want our item to be uh at the middle, both horizontally, to be at the center both horizontally and vertically. This is very useful. So after you have done it, you just need to say justify content. You say center. Can you see? So it has moved them to the center horizontally. Now you say align items center, and that will bring them to the middle. So it will be at the center horizontally and vertically. So that is Flexbox inside another Flexbox. Alright, so having done this now, we want to style them one by one now as a flex item. This div one as a flex item, this div one as a flex item. Alright, and that is why I declared ID for them, giving them the ID of their numbers, ID 1, 2, 3, and all of that. So there are different things you can actually learn from this. You know that this number one is coming first. You can actually let it go to the last number by giving it a order property of, let's say, 1, because by default all of them have the order of 0, but you give one of them a particular order number that is higher than the rest, is going to go to the last. Like, when you're counting numbers, you will see 0, 0, 0 before you can think of 1. You think 0, 0 before you can think of 2 or 3. You will see what I'm saying, that even if you change this to 10, it will still remain at the same position, because there is no other number that is higher than those. This is the highest number. This is the highest number now, so it's coming last. All right. So let's say we have given it 1 like that, and then let me do it 6. This 6, I want 6 to come before other ones. Let's try that. So we can actually achieve that by giving it a negative value, the order, by giving it a negative value. Let's say -1, and it will come to the front here, because -1 is actually smaller than 0, which is the default order. Okay, so let me use the align self. So this one, so let's just say align self. So align self, let me say flex n, and you see that it will just remove itself from what you have. This is what you are giving the parent. You have told the parent to put them at the, is it flex start or align items? Okay, we have even removed the align items. So by default, it will be flex start. So that is why everything fall here. But now you are saying that, well, even when everything is following flex start, we want this number one to follow flex end. Why? So let me put it at the center, align item. Mhm. So we have this like this. All right. So this number 6 too, I want to give it flex start. It will just fall here. So align self, flex start too. Can you see? All right. So that is that on align self. So I'll just comment them out for them to go back to their normal position. So having learned order and then align self, let's go to the next one, which is flex grow. But before we do that, I want to remove the content we have here. Let's say I want to reduce them to like 3 divs, so 3 flex items. So this is what I currently have now, just 3 flex items. So since I've removed them, I will comment out this flex wrap and Let me comment all this out so that now we now have them in the way in their default state, except for the group gap. Let me comment the gap out as well. So now we want to learn flex grow. So flex grow has to do with, so we are left with 1, 2, 3 now. Let me go to 1 and probably give it, so if I give it a flex grow of 1, it's going to expand to the remaining space. Can you see that now? So it's going to expand to the remaining space because it means that it should grow to the remaining space that exists there. So let's say, so let's do 3. And I want to give this flex grow of 2. So if I give 3 flex grow of 2 now, it means both 3 and 1 would maintain the remaining space, but um 3 will acquire more than 1 because we gave it a larger portion of the free space. So that is what flex grow does. So if I try to enlarge this now, you will see that it will keep growing. And if I reduce it, it will. So having length grow to. So now we have understood that flex grow has to do with how much a particular flex item will grow in relative to others. So this one, so they are sharing the 2 and 3, they are sharing the free space that is available. This one takes like times 2 of this very one. So the next thing is, let's learn flex shrink. Flex shrink we'll talk about. Let me comment this out. So everything has come back to normal. So flex shrink, we'll talk about how how much should a particular item shrink inside in relative to others inside the same flex parent. So like this flex one now, if I say 3, I'm telling it that it should shrink 3 times more than the more than other items inside the same flex parent. But kindly note that flex shrink will only work if the items are shrinkable. But in this case, they have enough space, so definitely they don't need to shrink. The only thing that can make them shrink is if I increase it's either I increase the content here. So for you to see the effect, let me come here and comment out and remove the comment on this one. So now there are a lot of content here, so definitely they need to shrink up because we not put flex wrap. Try to note that too. If we had allowed flex wrap, it will not work because that means we don't want them to shrink. We have allowed them to wrap instead of shrinking up. But in this case that they are shrinking up, so this one will shrink 3 times the remaining. So if I change it to 2, it's going to grow a little bigger, or like what it was before. If I change it to 4, so it's going to become very small. And let me try to adjust. So can you see, as others are getting smaller, that one too is also getting smaller. So let's go to flex basis. That's the next. So talking about flex basis, Flex basis we talk about, we have declared all the flex item to have width of 100 pixel, height of 100 pixel. Let's say I just want one of this particular one to have another flare, another size that is different from this 100 pixel and uh all of this 100 pixel that I gave it before. So that's exactly what you do with flex basis. So I can just say 200 pixel and you see it growing bigger than others. So you have specified its own size aside from the rest. But most developer don't use all of these, both flex shrink, flex grow, and then flex flex grow, flex shrink, flex basis. All these three can be put inside just one property, which is flex. So it's going to work for almost everything. Is it to shrink? Is it to grow? Is it so it's going to resize it. Let me remove all these ones too. You will see that the condition will now be different. Now that I've commented it out, you see, before it was smaller than the rest, but now that it has enough space, it grow bigger than the rest. So it will be more flexible than other items in the same flex parent. And that is what flex will do for you. So it's there were many, it shrink up, but now that it has enough space, it grows bigger than others. All right, that is that. We are going to meet in the next video where we'll be learning grid. Please watch out for it. Have a nice time. Don't forget to subscribe if you have not subscribed. Don't forget to like this video so that YouTube can recommend it to other viewers. Then don't forget to leave a nice and encouraging comment. I'll be looking out for your comment. Thank you for watching to this time. I really appreciate it. And turn on the notification button so that next time I post another beneficial video, you'll be one of the first to get notified. All right. Do have a nice time. Bye.